This is Blog Yin Yang, The Greater Result, podcast number 3, The Field Trip, with Steve Gibson, Tina Lewis, Sonia Bostic, and Tim Anderson. This podcast is brought to you by Group Effort. Everyone involved in this podcast put forward a great effort, not only in taking time to share their thoughts, but also in assisting with editing the podcast to make sure everyone sounds their best. Sponsors, wouldn't you like your name at the beginning and end of these podcasts? Get your products and services kindly mentioned and endorsed to a pile of interested listeners? Contact me at blogyingyang.com. I would love to get these podcasts on a proper iTunes podcast channel, as well as provide other enhancements, which wouldn't take much. Consider being a sponsor. And while you're listening to this podcast, check out the Blog Yin Yang Cafe Press shop and pick up some merch. This episode I'm calling The Field Trip. 3 students and I traveled to Atlanta, Georgia to attend a regular class at the Frances Fong Martial Arts Academy. Steve Gibson and I have attended several Frances Fong seminars, and for years I attended many invitation-only Wing Chun Instructors Association conferences under Sifu Frances Fong. But we wanted to attend a regular class outside of the seminar structure. We all attended 2 classes, a Wing Chun class taught by Kung Kru and Wing Chun Associate Instructor Kevin Lee, and a Jeet Kune Do class taught by Guru Stephen Grantham, both of which have outstanding and extended martial art careers. After the classes, the group had lunch at a sandwich shop near the Fong Academy, where we sat outside and talked about our experiences. You'll hear some crunching and munching and the occasional server. The service was wonderful, by the way. As this is a group of folk familiar with each other, we often talked about rather personal experiences. As such, I have edited the recording, keeping to more generalized discussion. The group was a great assistance in this effort, and I thank them all. It goes to a point that I've been trying to make with these podcasts. The result of a group effort is greater than the efforts of any individual within the group. This podcast was recorded on March 8th, 2014, which, by the way, was my sister's birthday. Happy birthday, Kim. This is Blog Yin Yang, The Greater Result, podcast number 3, The Field Trip, with Steve Gibson, Tina Lewis, Sonia Bostic, and Tim Anderson. Blog Yin Yang!
Now that's what I usually do at Andrew's family gatherings.
Like that.
I slowly disappear wherever I can. As quickly.
It's always me.
They usually want me in the kitchen, so I just go the opposite direction from all of the women. Because I can't do that. I can't do woman talk in the kitchen over the casserole. It's just not my...
We did a family reunion, like with his extended grandmother's family up in the mountains of Murphy, North Carolina, and like there was a big Carolina football game that night. And we sounded like, yeah, we're going to go watch it. But then all the men went to one room and all the women went to
That's
another.
what's expected.
And so I was like, I have to go with the women?
Nope.
So I went with the women, and they were in there talking, don't take offense, about sewing and all this craft stuff. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, no, it's all right, but I wanted to know the score of the game.
Yeah.
So I found myself, I got a headache. I went to my room, and I sat and watched it by myself.
Yeah, there you go.
And then I went back, and like halftime, then left again.
Andrew had a friend call. They were going to do the fights, and he said, "We'll watch the fights, and Tina can like hang out in the kitchen with." And I was like, "No."
I know. I was like, "Why do I have to go in there and not watch the game?"
Hawaiian barbecue, and then you have chicken stuff. You have chicken stuff?
Chicken.
Okay.
Thank you very
Sorry.
much.
But see, like in my family, with my mom's side of the family, we all watch the game.
Yeah.
You know, it's none of this male role.
Hawaiian barbecue.
Just
ready, ma'am. Thank you.
Oh,
And mushrooms
I'm giving you the first one.
No, you ordered first. And you just threw me on the floor like 20 times.
Yeah, why?
Maybe more.
I hate ending the class
30?
like that.
30
with something
times?
that I don't grasp.
Mm-hmm.
I always feel like I need to go back to like boxing for a couple minutes so I can at least be able to do something.
You know what? That is great, because you know how sometimes you get to the hardest part at the end of the class and you don't grasp it, and then you leave and you just feel kind of demoralized. But if you were to go back to something you started in class that was easy at the end of class and just did it for like 2 minutes, you'd walk away feeling like you could do something.
Well, at least the entry, y'all had the entry down really good, right?
Yeah.
That was the only thing. I should have asked, he broke the footwork down for us at the very end, and I should have asked that question about 20 minutes earlier than I did.
Come on, bro.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I had trouble.
Because it really was not a throw. Is kind of what it came to at the end. We were trying to make it a throw, and it was
Just
not.
spinning you around.
Souvenir.
How do you like the sandwich?
Wonderful.
Good.
This is good.
I do like the fact that when we were doing the twist or throw or whatever concept, we actually did a couple things, from the Wing Chun position first. I like that a lot. I'd
Well,
like to incorporate that a little more.
JKD and Wing Chun go hand in hand.
Yeah.
So, sir, were we embarrassing, or did we hold up against the others?
No, y'all did great.
Oh, good. We didn't want to be disappointed.
I thought we were setting an example for the large majority of that class.
I kind of felt that
honestly.
way for some of it too, but
I thought we did really well.
I thought that y'all did really well. I was really happy with y'all. I just hope y'all were happy with what you got out of it. Considering this is not like going to your regular class where, you're paying a monthly fee and you just show up because it's 10 minutes from your house.
Right.
We drove halfway across 2 states,
it's an experience.
and we spent $30 a class, which Steve and I were having a discussion, which is similar to what you and I were having the other night. That ain't too much.
Right.
Whereas other people are of the opinion of, that's too much.
Yeah.
But I don't think it is.
I think that it brings up the interesting point that if you have a group of people that are willing to drive 4 hours and pay twice as much per class, then maybe we can tap into that kind of energy at home because it's a lot closer and a lot cheaper.
But
So
that's
why
what I'm
can't we-
saying.
Well, how do we create that kind of value at our school?
Good thought.
Considering, again, we drove
The
4
value
hours,
is
$60
not.
back.
It's not that the value is not there. Part of the $30 that I was happy to spend, or actually $60 in the end, that I was happy to spend, was for the opportunity to be in a different energy, to be in a different place, and to even for a moment just touch or watch others, even if they had done the exact same thing that I teach in class. To have experienced it otherwise. Steve and I were talking on the way up, like a person in a band. And they're playing with these 4 guys, and they've been playing with these 4 guys for 3 years. There is value in going and playing with somebody else, even if you play the exact same piece of music. Just because you learn, it feels a little different, man. Yeah, it's the same piece of music, but it feels different.
I guess ultimately it's nice to just be a student.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Right.
none of us were
And
ranked.
you don't
None of
get
us
that
were
opportunity hardly ever.
prejudged.
Yeah.
It's like you just walk in and you did your thing, and that was really nice.
That was what I had said from the beginning of my addition into this idea was, I just want to go and learn somewhere because I can't do that
Right.
at the school. I have liked the idea of the guest instructors class because it makes me remember things that I haven't seen in a long time, and it does give me a chance to learn some things that I hadn't gotten very well or I've long since forgotten.
Yeah.
But it is different to have a completely different energy around you. I have an energy associated with that building. I have a different energy associated with
Yes.
this building.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Which, I mean, just like, again, back to the analogy of music, that's why some bands like to tour and some bands like to do studio work. Some people work better in the same place all the time, and some people work better when it's, we flubbed up in Louisville last night, but tonight we're in Milwaukee.
It was a nice change.
It's always nice to be a guest,
Yeah.
anywhere. When
Yeah.
you're like the one
Yeah, they were
and
friendly
the
too,
47
weren't they?
people like
That
come
was
up
awesome.
to you and like act like we're happy to see you.
Yeah.
And it wasn't fake either. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
they
they were
were, like, really
told
nice.
to basically come up to, but at the same time, it was good for them to operate in that mentality, like be
Yeah.
welcoming and hospitable.
Yeah.
But it was good for us just to receive that hospitality,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and feel appreciated that no matter where we are in the spectrum of learning, like there's value in just camaraderie you know, and feeling welcome inside of a family that's not necessarily your home family or whatever. So.
Oh yeah, I agree. Martial arts is a very solo, individual. It's me. It succeeds or fails on the individual. And okay, you know, bless the guys who go into the ring and all that, and okay, they make their own glory. Okay, I recognize that. But there is something that results from a collaborative effort.
Yeah.
Something that's greater than any of the sum of the parts. And I'm looking for ways to make that happen in something like the martial arts, which is an individual thing. And it can happen. It can be in a let's do chum kill in the round and videotape it. Make a videotape that gets, 500 hits on YouTube. Ooh! Or whatever.
Would you like some of it?
Oh, please, thank you.
I can also see it happen in terms of teaching can be collaborative, or hey, let's all go to some other school.
Yeah.
Now you were still learning your thing, and you were still learning your thing, and you were learning your thing. It was all very individual, but it took all of us to generate this extra event.
Yep. It's the whole concept of community, living in community.
Yes.
With others than just being like solo.
Plus, I think that's how the guest teaching thing kind of started too.
Yeah.
It's just the idea of...
Thank you so much.
There was the guest teaching started because I wanted to make something along that line happen. I went to, well, if you think way back, I suggested, hey, let's go build ramps for veterans or old people, or do something where everybody involved can feel like they have a piece of value. And I recognize there are times where you want to do things that suggest martial arts. Okay, it's UFC night, let's have a UFC night. Well, not everybody wants to watch UFC, but that's okay. You can have those. But it would be nice to have grander things that everybody, I don't like the punching and kicking or whatever, but I can get involved.
Yeah.
And I get a value out of a piece of being involved. And okay, all I did was push paper while they were moving lumber, but I still had a part of making that happen.
Filled 800 plus boxes.
Yeah, at Harvest Hope.
Well, I didn't even
That
really
was
hear
an
about
awesome
that until the
thing.
last minute. And if I had heard about it, I would have made an effort to go help. But it was
I really did it for my teens.
nobody really.
It was like toward the last week, we were like, we can make this bigger than the teens.
Right.
So what did you do?
Well, they really didn't expect me to have very many, and then the entire teen class showed up with parents.
All right.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Yeah, no, they says they only got 3 signed up, Steve. And I was like, my whole class has been telling me they're coming to this. So we had like 20.
Good.
It was big. But yeah, we blew all the other volunteers out of the water. We ran out of stuff to box.
That's great.
It was great. But that was all the idea. It was the same idea with bringing Sifu Mark mainly across the board. So him being so focused on the children at that point, I felt like having kind of the leader brand of the school come across the adult side would really help that community idea of talking about it. But doing something extracurricular outside of the school to help people, we kept thinking, let's make it martial arts themed or oriented. And it doesn't necessarily have to be to get a word out that we've done some good. I'm not against putting our name on it though for advertising.
You should. I mean, you definitely should. That's why contractors do Habitat for Humanity. Like, it's the same idea.
Well, and as soon as you suggest that something needs to be martial arty, you are guaranteed that there are people who are not, even though they attend the school, that they are not going to be interested in it. As soon as you say, okay, it's a UFC night.
Yeah.
Okay, I've been doing martial arts for most of my life, right? Since longer than most of you guys are born. I am bored to tears with UFC. I am absolutely bored to tears with it. I could care less.
I get that.
Right. And you can love martial arts and really dislike UFC extremely. Because to me,
And
they're very
vice versa.
separate.
And vice versa. And vice versa.
Because they're very different.
I'm
One
really
is a-
surprised
yeah.
how many
One is a sport.
MMA fighters are not martial artists at all.
Yeah.
I'm really surprised how little martial arts experience MMA fighters have, and they can still be successful.
Yeah.
Really surprised.
One,
Kind of rethink what we do.
yeah, one is a sport, and it's about a different quality to it. Sports, or you know, if you know, like a Spar Wars or something like that, what they do with the kids, they're going to be ladies in my class or something like that who, no, I don't want to go and face up against a guy or another gal who really does want to try and touch my face with a glove.
Right.
Maybe not hard, but they really want to try because the goal has been set to do that.
Yeah.
So you're almost there. As soon as you say it's got to have that flavor, there are people who may attend any given school who may say, well, but that's not what I'm into it for. But you can find other things. I think this trampoline night's going to be... Now, there's going to be a lot of people that aren't going to attend to that.
I've been doing the truth.
But I'm...
and I
There's
can't
not a day. Is there a
that
set
night.
date already?
Yeah.
Oh, there
Oh
is?
man,
And they
The
change
29th.
it.
I need to get on this.
Well, it could be changed, but I think we're
29th.
still
Oh,
working
yeah,
on
you
29th.
told us because you have
Is
something.
this a Saturday night or a Sunday
month?
night or what?
That's a Saturday night, I
Yeah.
This month.
think. Yeah.
Dude, I'm
29th this month.
stoked.
I want to go.
Now, there would be people who would not want to do that.
It's the, sorry.
But I think anything that,
you got anything coming.
That would be community service. You could get almost everybody to commit, 10 minutes to. What did y'all take away from here? That's the big thing. As this is a group who knows each other fairly well, we tended to talk in terms of personal experiences, all of which should not be public. So I want to generalize some of the ideas the group stated at this point. One comment mentioned a common misconception in many martial arts, the idea that size doesn't matter. The fact is, size does matter, especially in many of the grappling arts. Granted, good technique should help to minimize size differentials. However, 95% or more of all BJJ tournaments, and the UFC itself, use weight classes. This is an acknowledgement that size does matter. If size absolutely, truly did not matter, such tournaments and contests would have long ago been designed like golf or chess, where size was not considered at all. Another thing that was mentioned relates to schools or institutions that encompass a variety of ideas or concepts, some of which may be in conflict with each other. Specialized instructors may give students advice that conflicts with other instruction. This is further compounded by the individual student's goals. A recent example for me is that I teach my JKD students once they complete a technique, they should practice getting out and away to get distance and to try and disengage from the fight. But for my Muay Thai students, which is a ring sport, they should get out but not necessarily away. The goal is for the fight to continue as opposed to trying to make it break off entirely. Balancing competing concepts can be a complicated issue for multi-art schools or any institution where there are connected but differing trains of thought.
We're not the only place that exists, but it doesn't exist throughout our art. 'Cause I especially going to one of Guru's seminars, he'll start with one thing, and it'll flow all the way to the end of every art that we've ever done together. And these guys will flow, just like he went trapping to grappling to now we're on the ground grappling. Now we can do it either streetwise or we can do it sport-wise.
When you have the sport aspect of it, there is a different, that is a different look. And yes, it is possible to be such a martial artist that you have no problem flowing from, say, street into sport or sport into street.
At least consciously.
At least consciously. But if your structure, your training structure, or your school structure, or the instructor's structure is, I do sport. And on the other side of the building, we do self-defense.
Yeah.
Where the self-defense person can say, you know, what you guys do over there in the sport, yeah, we use some of that. But the sport guys say, we don't use the stuff that you do. Now you're forced into this schism. You're forced into it.
As long as we understand that any of those things can be blended. Was I talking to you about how when I went to Florida, the seating was particularly anti-MMA, and it was one of the only negative aspects of the entire trip was that he was so ugly about the BJJ knuckle draggers
Oh gosh.
that did not know you can't take somebody into a triangle choke in the back of a bar. And I says, well, if you have respect for all these different arts, then you have respect for where they belong. You know, and you know where to place them. And that's what you were saying earlier. You know, not everybody might be the martial artist to know when to use what, but at least consciously we should strive. I'm not saying subconsciously you might end up doing something and going straight to the ground because you practice the armbar a million times. But if you have a second to think about this, you should be able to differentiate between, well, I'm not going to turn my back to him for this, or, well, I'm not going to zone toward the knife hand, or something. You should be able to kind of figure those things out if you respect the arts and their unique qualities enough.
And that, I mean, right there is probably the difference, is do you respect it? If you have individuals in your school or situation who are, I'm anti that other side of the building.
Yeah.
Right.
They don't respect it. It wouldn't matter how much the other side of the building respects their stuff.
Right.
There's always going to be somewhere a bump. And that's what I mean. That's what draws the schism. And especially with sport. Sport is geared differently. My goal is not necessarily to survive. My goal is to point. My goal in sport is to beat the other guy. My goal in self-defense is to survive. In self-defense, both people can win. The robber and the robbee, if both get to leave. They both get to walk away. They both won. In sport, they will not allow both people to win. It's impossible because then there was no game. 2 men enter. 1 man leaves. Where's Tina Turner when I need her?
Cousin Mel.
I guess
Uncle Mel.
I don't know. I don't want to jump out of this topic too early, but the biggest thing that I think I'm going to take away is, and I've heard you say that, and I think both of you guys are really good about this. But I've noticed at the gym, it seems like, at least in the attitude of the trainees, there's more prominence put on power than structure. Here, I saw much more focus put on structure, and once you have the structure, fine, do whatever you want. Put on 20 pounds, get stronger, do whatever. But if you don't have the structure, they're sitting there going around telling these big guys, you're doing it wrong. Relax. You're doing it wrong. Relax. And I saw I kept looking around and around and around, and it was just
We took your suggestion.
Yes, how was it?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Great.
Terrible. We want our money back.
Yeah. No.
We blamed it all on you.
Very good.
It's delicious.
Yeah,
It
it's
is.
great. Yeah.
It is so
Everything.
nice.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you guys are
Yep.
coming out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, telling the big guys to relax.
Yeah, no, I just I don't know how you, as an instructor, it's way above my pay grade to know how to do that. But this seems to.
How did I do it?
For me,
It's a way more wing chun.
I start wanting to do way more fitness type stuff, and I need to be at a certain level before I can do martial arts, because I have to be strong enough to handle the training in order to get the martial arts.
But
You
you're also
understand?
getting people who are
But at the
walking
same
into an
time,
MMA
that's not truly what it's about. If I'm relying on my strength, well, that's going to cause a lot more injuries because I don't have the structure anyway.
It almost goes to the previous thing that I was talking about, sport versus self-defense. You can teach self-defense. You can teach like a Wing Chun or a JKD. Provided the person is willing to spend time, you can teach it to anybody. You can teach it to a little old lady if she's willing to spend time. You can teach it to
little lady.
young light
Yeah.
ladies, okay, who aren't big and bulked up and don't look like those ladies on female MMA, who some of them clearly take steroids, but some of them don't.
Big girls.
The structure comes first. You can always add strength. If there's strength first, sometimes it's hard to teach structure because you are going to use your strength instead of the structure you're being taught. Like the big guy that you were working with, if he kept muscling it, would he ever learn it right because it was always working the way he was doing it?
Yeah.
If he learned it right, wouldn't it be easier? And then couldn't he do more, like like putting your hip in it and literally sending you up in the air and slamming you down on the ground and finishing the fight?
Yeah.
But if you apply the muscle, you're fighting the ability to learn the structure.
Yeah. I think that's honestly one of the things I feel like in my personal training. I need to backtrack on slightly. I feel like I've come into it reasonably fit, but then I hit a wall when it comes to like sparring or something like that, and for some reason there's a trick in my head that says the way to go through this wall is to get stronger and like push past that, where I really don't think long term that's the right approach. I think it's to circle back and really work better structure, work better angles, work better.
So you have the option of saying maybe I should get stronger. I think that's part of it too. It's like some of us don't have the option of saying, like, maybe I should get stronger. It's like I don't have that option.
Well,
so
just out of curiosity, give me a little bit of background. What did you do sports in high school?
I played tennis.
You played tennis?
Yes.
Okay.
Heavy cardio, not a lot of muscle building.
So quite frankly, in my opinion, and this is just something that's been formulating in my head in the last two years or so.
Yeah.
You're approaching it from a sports point of view. And there's nothing wrong with that if sport is the goal.
I don't think it's one of these equal sliding scales, though. And I think I had that. I considered a misconception that strength is making my Wing Chun bad. And so I need to take strength away. And I don't think that's necessarily the proper way to look at it. I think being stronger is a good idea. I think it was the sensitivity that they gain is generally not something that goes hand in hand with that insensitive, bulk, brute strength that people have. But there's a way, Kev feels like a gust of wind, but he obviously lifts weights.
Yeah, right.
He's obviously a very strong guy, but you don't ever feel it because he knows how to properly place it.
Yeah.
And so I think that's more than anything is if you can learn how to develop that kind of strength and be that beast, but have that sensitivity that it's so properly placed, then that's ultimate. The ultimate.
Yes.
Be way stronger, way more sensitive.
And that's sort of what I was saying in that. You don't have to be strong to do it. You can be. But if your focus is strength, that may impede, not stop, but slow down, resist your ability to acquire technique.
Yeah, I think
if you can become like him,
it's hard.
if you can become like him and say, I can be strong, but I can also let go, then you can acquire the technique.
Did you notice when they were doing whatever routine or drill they were doing in the middle, their hands were just flopping around.
Yeah.
They were so loose. The arms were in position, but the hands were just kind of.
Well, they were also they're making more use of, and Sifu has talked about this before in the past, helping. The drills are set up to not only teach you what to do, but to help them accomplish it. So they're pulling that hand into a bong position before they would go to their Wu Sao position. Yeah. You're punching in a way to roll that bong. You're helping the bong happen. And they're just so fluid at it because they do that more. We don't do enough of it because I don't have a Wing Chun only class. I've got to kind of split it out to one day we're doing Kali and one day we're doing grappling and then we've got to do a little JKD and then maybe we can sneak in some Wing Chun now. Once every 4 weeks or so.
I did want to see them get on the Mook Jong, and they didn't do that because I just wanted to see.
I got up on that Mook Jong.
Those were
wasn't that awesome?
This
Worked.
Those are
worked.
sweet.
One your size, there you go.
The low
your
long
body.
set wasn't like a deep squat.
Didn't have the
It was
squat.
great. It was great.
Yeah, those were sweet.
Blog.